And a hero of mine and a mentor of mine was my late father. And one of the things that he really loved was racing of all kinds and all types. So he became a fan of the king of NASCAR, which we all know is Richard Petty. And he came up with the idea. He says, he said it'd be really nice to purchase a late model Dodge or Mopar product and do a tribute car. So we drove to Allentown, PA, where we was originally from, and went and looked at this car right here. It's a 1971 Plymouth Roadrunner, and we bought it, or my father purchased it for $1,600 in 1989. And it was your typical car that needed to be restored. It was pretty well beat up and damaged, and started it up and smoke came out the exhaust pipes, and you can imagine. So we brought it home, and I said to him, I says, does Mom know you bought this car? He says, no, but in about 10 minutes she's gonna come down that driveway from grocery shopping and she's gonna find out. I was a young guy, I was only in my 20s, I didn't have any money, but I had time, and I helped my dad.
Work at that time, what did that entail?
Well, my dad didn't have the financial capability to do everything bumper to bumper the way that he really wanted to do it. So we focused on the exterior. Did a little bit in the engine compartment, kept the original engine in it, the original interior, but mainly focused on the exteriors. We had to get permission from Petty Enterprises and STP both. So one of the important things about getting the permission is the decal package that's on this car was the same decal package that Petty Enterprises was putting on Richard's cars back at that time. This car is actually painted in his 1991 paint scheme that he raced during that period. So we got it all done, and we didn't live too far from Pocono Raceway, and we went there quite often. And in the meantime, we were also fan club members. And he announced a fan club gathering at Pocono Raceway while they were in town racing that weekend. So we took the car there. And that's when he originally autographed it on the front in 1991 with a paint pen, and the autograph is still there. So that's kind of how it all started. And then my dad took it to different car shows. He won all kinds of awards with it and things like that. In 2011, my dad passed away from cancer. He was 70 years old.
What did you learn about his love and passion for racing? Specifically, Richard Petty?
Well, my dad followed him for years, and then when I was little, I was old enough to be going to places like racetracks and things like that. My dad would drag me along, and it's kind of like handed down, like a lot of other traditions are. He didn't have the funds to be able to finish the car the way that he wanted to finish it. So my father meant so much to me that prior to his passing, in the conversations that we had, I made him a promise that I would finish this car. This is not, to most people, this is just a car. But it wasn't to my father, certainly not to me or the rest of my family. This is a symbol of somebody that we dearly love and we miss every day. And I couldn't think of a better way to not only honor him, but a hero of both mine and my father's, Richard himself, to do this project.
As you were explaining it to me, there was a period of time after your father passed, you did not work on this car.
The car sat in Northeast Pennsylvania in his shop, just up on jack stands, covered up, for probably about 3 years. I didn't bring it down here until 2014. And then when I brought it down here in 2014, it sat in my shop on my lift for probably at least almost another 3 years. And I think it was for me is I just couldn't bring myself to do it. Well, I was invited by a very close personal friend of mine to take the car, as it was, to a car show. And I told him on the phone, I says, it's not really show car worthy. It needs this, it needs that. And he says, don't worry. He says, we got people bringing all kinds of stuff. He said, just bring it. So I did. And I was very fortunate enough that evening to be parked next to a gentleman which has become one of my best friends. His name is Keith Irwin. Keith is tremendous. And I found out during our conversations that he had a restoration shop. He's been in the business for many, many years, does all kinds of restoration projects.
I met Chris at a local cruise-in, and I parked right next to him and get out and admire his car, and you could see the passion in his eyes. And he was like, I really want to finish this car, but I just kind of let it sit.
And he said to me, he says, look, he says, all you got to do is start.
What inspires you to encourage him the way that you did?
After talking to him for an hour or so, I could realize that he just didn't know how to get started.
And it just progressed from there, and that's how I got going. Yeah, it was a lot of hard work. Keith was very instrumental in making this project happen.
Chris and I, we sat and talked, had a plan, and we started on the car. He took it apart, brought it to me. I did a lot of cosmetic repairs. We completely redid all the engine bay, we put a roll cage in it.
So it's been completely redone the way that my father would have wanted it done. And it turned out really great.
What did it mean to you to see the car completed the way that your father would have done?
Oh gosh. I'll tell you the crowning moment for me was I finished this car 2 years ago this summer. About a year ago, almost to the day, I took this car to Petty Fest, which they hold in Level Cross, which is where the King lives, their whole entire family, and their original race shop that they raced out of when his father Lee started racing back in the 50s. And I entered the car into a special part of Petty Fest. It's called King's Court, which was a VIP section that was separate from the main car show. Well, part of King's Court was you presented your car to Richard. You got to spend a few minutes with him, and Richard himself was the one that did the judging for the winner, and we won the award with it last spring. And it's a one-of-a-kind trophy. It was made specifically at Petty's Garage, and that was really the crowning moment right there. And it was a day I'll never forget, and something I'm really, really proud of.
What do you think your father would say about all this?
I think it would bring tears to his eyes. I really do, because he always had vision, and he loved to create things, and to see his dream come true. I think it would have been something pretty special. Yeah, I think he would have been amazed, proud, and also really happy is the way that it turned out.
Sincerely appreciate your time, but also your sharing.
Well, thank you, and I appreciate you and the folks at WSOC for coming up here and letting me share this story with you.